crazy how time goes. People come and then people go.
Hey, I'm looking outside and it's gone from sunny to overcast and windy. My neighbor's working on his diesel, his semi. It's -5 degrees right now. Now I don't know what it is with wind chill, but it is a cold Sunday afternoon. Hi, I'm Doug Snyder. This is Intimacy with God Ministries, and this is Sunday's Thought Conditioner. Now, last week I talked about kids, what kids want from parents. This week I want to talk about parents and what parents want for their kids. Actually, I should be honest, is what I wanted for my kids. I don't know what other parents want, but here's a list of 8 things. I'll give you 3 of them that I want for mine. And I think I'm going to go inside because it's getting cold. That's much better. It's a little bit more easy to handle inside, out of the wind and out of the cold. And I just want to give you 3 of those 8 things that I wanted for my kids. Now, I don't know if this is what every parent wants, but since I gave you the kid list last week, I wanted to give you this. I wanted to give you a list of what I was thinking for our kids. And the first one on this list, it's actually number 2 on the list of 8, is called, I want my kids to understand their identity. That is, their identity in Christ, their authority as a believer, and what their purpose and calling in life is. So, understanding identity in Christ, their authority as a believer, and what their calling in life is. And the way that we work with that is we observe them, we watch them. What are they good at? What do they not like? What do they do like? Where do they excel? Where do others see them excelling? And one interesting thing about that calling in life aspect, I've observed that oftentimes the very thing that one of my children is good at comes so naturally for them that they don't think it's a gift. And so it's difficult to convince them that that is their gift. Let me give you one example. My daughter, Rachel. She is very quick, very good problem solver. And so she was up visiting Grandpa and Grandma Blomquist, Beth's mom and dad. And their neighbor, their condo neighbor, is in a wheelchair. This was several years ago. And she's in a wheelchair, and she had a problem with her harness rubbing on her chest. And Rachel was over visiting with Grandpa and Grandma, and she disappeared. And I don't know how long, it was an hour later or 2 hours later or half a day later, she comes over and she had this piece that she had sewn with a sewing machine that went over the collar and was a pad so that it wouldn't rub and irritate the lady's harness anymore. And I'd say, Rachel, you're so creative. You know exactly what's needed. You've done a great job with that. And she's, Dad, it's no big deal. Everybody could do that. And I'm thinking, no, not everybody can do it. Not everybody would do it that thought of it. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Some things are so obvious to people. It's like the end of your nose. It's right there. And it's for you to see, but we don't remember it. We don't take notice of it. You get the pun there. Anyway. So I want my kids to know their identity in Christ, their authority as a believer, and what their purpose is. The next one on my list that I want to share with you is number 5, and that is people skills. People skills. People skills are really important. They're something that you don't observe or you don't think about right away, but is immediately observable if people don't have people skills. And what do I mean by people skills? Well, that could be a whole list of things, but let me just give you a couple things that come to mind right away. First of all, communication, the ability to communicate. And while communication is a two-way street, going to the sender, from sender to receiver, and from receiver back to the sender, it's a two-way thing. Communications is largely listening. The old saying is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so listening is one way to show people that you care. Then the other is I really want them to be able to say things that need to be said or do things that need to be done in terms of communicating. For example, years ago, we went out to a restaurant to eat, and I wanted my boys to negotiate with the waitress a different place to sit, because the one that we were sitting by was right by the door. It was very cold. It was winter at the time. And it was a surprise to me because one of my sons actually volunteered to do it, which was not normal for him. So I knew that he was catching some of that negotiating or ability or communicating ability. Even though that was a very simple thing, he was young. And so I was very pleased that he was able to communicate that with the waitress. There's a good book. I don't know if I can find it, but I'll see if it's on my shelf here somewhere. It's an incredibly great book to read over and over. Yeah, here it is right here. So, I don't know, is that backwards for you? How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a classic book. If you haven't read this, read it. If you have read it, read it again. We've read this many times, and I take notes on it. All my kids have been encouraged to read it. Some of them have, honestly, and some haven't, but I encourage my kids to read all the time and pick up things. So that's the second thing that I want to share with you. It's number 5 on my list, and it is people skills. I want my kids to have people skills. Now, the third thing I want to share with you, which is really number 7 on my list, is I want my kids to move towards simplicity and order. And I borrow that from Mike Murdock. Mike Murdock was a pastor. I think the story, if I remember it right, was he got a divorce and no longer felt like he could be in ministry because of that. And that was many years ago. That was the sentiment back then. I'm not sure that's the same now, but because of that, he went into a different type of ministry and into /ministry business. And he has many goals. He likes to teach on wisdom. I listened to him for some time and read some of his books. I don't listen to him anymore, but that one phrase from his work I picked up on and really liked. Movement towards simplicity and order. Actually, he just said movement towards order. I added the simplicity. And I'll be honest with you. A lot of my list is because of things that I struggled with. Understanding your identity in Christ, understanding your authority as a believer. Those aren't simple things that are just to come naturally. People skills, those are difficult. We all grew up in an environment where we assume certain principles and certain roles, and to relearn or to add to those is not an easy task. To gain people skills, to acquire people skills. Even understanding personality traits. I love understanding personality traits. I don't have a book handy here for you for that, but there's several. Dr. Rahm has a book on personality profiles, and Florence Littauer has a book on Personality Plus. Great reads if you want to understand how come people choose different words and like different colors and what kind of personality traits that they operate in most of the time. I could speak for a week on that. I love personality traits, but and this last one, movement towards order and simplicity. My mind is always going, always working in 2 or 3 different directions. And my wife is really good at that. I'm okay. But, I look at my desk, you look at my desk here, and I know this may be a shocker for you, but that's clean. That's a clean desk. And so, I just want to share those things with you, things that I wanted for my kids. There are 3, understand their identity, people skills, movement towards order. I've got all 8, and I'd be willing to share those with you. If you'd like to see the other 5, if you'd like to see all 8 in one list, just give me your email on private messenger, and I will send that to you. I'd be happy to share that with you. And just the same as what I said last week, if you want the list of the kids, just share with me your email, and I'd be happy to mail that off to you. Anyway, I just know that if you are a parent or if you're going to be a parent, you already have so much anticipation and excitement for parenting, and I just want to help you. I want to serve you. I want to give you something of value, and I want to encourage you, because parenting is a wonderful, wonderful experience, a wonderful role of responsibility, and you can do a great job. Primarily, there's just a lot of love in your heart, I know, for your child. So keep loving them, and that's the number one thing. That's not number one on my list, though, by the way. Let's see. I just spaced it out. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. Anyway. All right. That's it for this week. Take care. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for liking and sharing this. Bye-bye.